Hi, you guys. I'm going to do a little overview that includes both chapters 11, 12. I shouldn't say both, all three chapters 11, 12, and 13. They're three really small chapters, but they represent that different kind of segment that I hadn't really thought much about prior to this book and this class. When you look at chapter 11, they talk about clubs, and stuff is pretty just straightforward, kind of the history, who the key players are, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to pick out a couple of points of interest. On page, if this is third edition, page 240, when they're talking about um, uh, the club management. It's under that section for club management. They talk about the Club Managers Association of America. And I think this is just illustrative of what we've kind of talked about right from the beginning of this class, probably even in our quality customer service class a little bit too, but this course in particular, how important it is for professional development. And every one of the segments that we've looked at so far has their own national, there's regional, of course, but most of them all have some sort of national organization. So we're looking at here, Club Managers Association of America. And I think when they talk about here, they look at the association's goal is to advance the profession of club management by fulfilling the educational and related needs of the club managers. And then they talk about networking opportunities, meetings, and conferences. So no matter what area you decide to go in, make sure that you're belonging to these clubs, whatever it applies to. So some of you, I'm getting through the grading, I'm getting caught up, and I was getting through some of the grading, and some of you loved golf. So if that's one thing that you love, it's a good way to sort of marry your hobby and your passions to a job. And then when you look at the figure 11.1, core competencies for management to leadership, and it's that big pyramid that shows you the different layers: operations, asset management, and then culture. Tons of jobs falling within that category. And then, excuse me, I'm going to fast forward towards, the ethical dilemma. One of the case studies in the third edition, it's page 247, and they're talking about this, the ethical dilemma, courtesy of the general manager from Founders Club in Sarasota, Florida. You're the general manager of a prestigious club, and the club president comes to your office with some important items to talk about, right? Your annual salary, benefits package, his daughter's wedding. First yellow flag, right? Caution, caution. And his wife's charity golf event. Second flag. And once your generous salary and benefits package have been finalized, the president begins to talk about the requirements of his daughter's wedding. This all happens, and this came from the Sarasota clubs, or the club in Sarasota. The conversation is going the direction of substantial discounts, wink, wink, right, for the food and beverages to be offered. This goes against the club policy, right? What do? He is the club president, right? You get kind of put between a rock and a hard place, don't you? Then add to the dilemma, he tells you that his wife is planning a charity golf event, and he wants the usual fee of $75 per person waived. Ooh, what would you say to the president of the club? They give us a couple of discussion questions. In your opinion, should the fees be waived, and what should you say or do? Now, instinctively we say, no, we're not going to waive the fee. We shouldn't be giving, some sort of preferential treatment just because he's the club president. But the other hand, if you got 3 kids at home to feed, this becomes a real problem. If you're actually worried about your job, what do you do? This kind of thing happens all the time, not just in this segment. Even think about the restaurant segment. Let's just talk about that. So somebody wants to book the back room to have a big party, right, for his daughter's graduation. And they also are one of your top customers, right? Big spender, high rollers. Oh my. Same thing in the gaming industry. And high roller, that's where the term comes from, right? So there's a lot of things to consider in all of these segments. But some of these in particular, when you're talking about a lot of money, like heavy donors, places that require a board of directors, so to speak, it gets a little more complicated. Now, if we go to chapter 12, this was the theme parks and attractions. And it just was I thought the chapter could have been more exciting because it really talks about all the key players, and that's pretty much it. So we got introduced, of course, Disney, SeaWorld, Universal Studios, and all that good stuff, right? But what I found interesting on page 257, the corporate profile, when they were talking about Six Flags, It says, if you're looking for a job in the theme park business, you might be interested in knowing that Six Flags employs thousands of seasonal workers, right, and about 3,500 full-time employees all over the world. Again, this segment in particular has so many different things going on. So let's say you like animals and you want to, maybe SeaWorld's the thing for you, right? And plus you can travel the world to do so. Then they get into some of the regional stuff. Dollywood, come on. I've been by there, but I couldn't make myself pull in. Then on page 259 in the third edition, theme park management is the section. That's where we're moving on as we wrap up the last of investigating each of these segments and what you could apply, what kind of jobs you could find in the segment that might fall under that category of dream job, or something to follow your passion, I should say. They do bring up this idea of planning, organizing, decision-making, communicating, motivating, and controlling, calling these the 5 functions of, along the lines of what we're talking about when the 5 different key functions of management. And then they do walk us through, in this particular book, because by the way, this varies a little bit depending on which textbook you're reading. So it does introduce us to the idea of the level of involvement that the managers need to have. And it should be this way across every segment. I know some of you have been really feisty about jobs you've had in the past where your managers and leaders were pretty much, you know, MIA, missing in action, right? Or they did things like hollering at people and all that good stuff. Let's see here. I think that was pretty much it for that. And then the last 13 is the last chapter I want to talk about is gaming and entertainment, and that was chapter 13. I'm not a gambler, so this whole, I don't even know how to gamble. I'm pathetic, right? I don't even buy, I think I've bought a lottery ticket when it was like $444 bazillion, right? Because then I could just blow all the money on all the philanthropic things that I would love to be able to do. But the gaming entertainment, you know, you can read through this, pretty straightforward again, gives you some of the historical perspectives, key players, scope and size. Holy cow, that was interesting. 2012, 37.3 billion. And that's just gaming. Isn't that crazy? And what I found really interesting about the whole gaming thing is it's almost like its own ginormous little world of hospitality. So positions in gaming and entertainment, that section of this chapter, hotel, food and beverage, casino, retail, entertainment, it has everything. Just think Las Vegas. I've been there once because my husband wanted to go. I didn't gamble the whole time we were there. Not once, because I don't gamble and I don't find it interesting. But oh my gosh, one of the coolest things I ever found was the Star Trek bar. Oh my gosh, it was in an older casino. It's like so exciting. And one of the requirements to work there is you had to be able to speak Klingon for any of you other Trekkies out there. So that's my little spiel for those 3 chapters. And I'm going to try to make sure I can finish up with the other 2 and get those posted. I'm sorry that my one link wasn't working, but I've got that fixed now. That's way back in chapter like 7 or 8 or something. So anyway, we'll see you next time. Bye.